We're opening up the mailbag. Are the Celtics actually going to get a new building? What's the deal with NBA expansion? Suggestions for players the Celtics should pursue? And do they need a new dad on the team? It's all right now on the Locked On Celtics podcast.
Beantown, be ever ready. It's the C's. Who else could it be? What they gon' say now? Screaming like JT. Karalis recap the madness every game, every practice. Prime time, Depp and D White on the sideline. Raining Jays, how it started, raising banners, how we finished. Locked on Celtics pod, home of the winners.
Hey there, welcome back to the Locked On Celtics podcast. It's right here on the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day. Your team is the Boston Celtics. I talk about them every Monday through Friday for free, whichever podcasting app you want to use. If you want to watch the show, it's right there on YouTube. Get into the comment section, share your thoughts with me. I'm John Karalis, beat writer for Boston Sports Journal. I have been doing a version of this job for about 20 years now. I've written a couple of books about the team, so I just love talking about the Boston Celtics. Today, I'm talking all about the questions that you have submitted via johnkaralis.com/mailbag, johnkaralis.com/mailbag to ask your questions. Regular mailbags throughout the rest of the offseason. Probably at this point doing them on regular mailbag Mondays. Summer League is over. The news is generally going to dry up now. Still waiting on Al Horford, but beginning in August, we're going to go down to 3 days a week. So still mailbag Mondays and all of that stuff. So get your questions. And today we'll get into the haunted hotel in Oklahoma City. Celtics dads. There's going to be a bunch fewer. There's fewer dads. My grammar's way off there, but the fewer dads. Do the Celtics need more dads in the locker room? We'll get into expansions, player suggestions, all that stuff. But let's kick it off here with Rita, who asked, could Tom Thibodeau join the Celtics staff as an assistant coach and help explain how the Knicks beat them? I don't think at this point it's up to Tom Thibodeau. I think Tibbs is going to want to maybe cool off a little bit, maybe make the rounds as a consultant. I would not be surprised to see him in the Auerbach Center at some point. The last time before he got the Knicks job, I do recall seeing him around. So he and Brad have a good relationship. I wouldn't be surprised. Obviously, he's a former Celtics coach, so former assistant under Doc Rivers. So there's history here. I don't know that he's going to want to be an assistant. I think once you get back into the assistant role for Thibodeau, I don't know. Maybe I guess I'm wrong. I'm kind of like censoring myself as I say this out loud. I don't think some guys want to get back into the assistant role because they don't want to be going. Once you get back into an assistant, it's kind of tough to get back into the head coaching thing. But I don't know. It really is Thibodeau's call on that. But I doubt that he's going to want to be an assistant. And I don't know if they're going to want to put that kind of pressure on Joe Mazzulla. Not that he would feel the pressure, but I just bringing in a guy like him in a season like this, where people have been critical of him. I don't think Brad Stevens even wants to entertain the sports talk radio blather of a tough start to the season. You've got his replacement already there on the bench. Why not just move him up? I don't think Joe wants that. I think it's just, let's go with what we've got. We've got a staff. It's good staff. We're going to just keep going. So I would say that it is not likely that Thibodeau joins the staff. Victor A asks, what do you make of the report that the new Celtics owners want to build their own arena? So this comes from the Globe, where tucked away at the bottom of a Gary Washburn column says, quote, it's believed that soon-to-be Governor Bill Chisholm will look into the construction of a new arena since the Celtics do not own TD Garden. That's a bullet point nugget at the end of his column. Gary Washburn, obviously one of the most reputable sources on the beats in NBA media in general. So I think the phrasing and the placement, this is little like inside media baseball, is there's no doubt in my mind that Gary has had a conversation with somebody who thinks that Bill Chisholm will at least explore a new arena. There's not enough meat on that to say the Celtics are pursuing an arena. And because it was placed at the bottom of a column, it's like, I got this tidbit. I want to use it. I don't want to make a big deal of it because it's not the headline. Because if that was a Bill Chisholm is looking to move out of the Garden, that's a headline. That's a juicy headline. Obviously, you don't have that story. So this is a typical thing. I would do it. Everybody in the business does it. You get a little nugget, we'll just tuck it in somewhere where just to put it out there, just to say I've heard that he wants to look. And so the I can understand as it's phrased, since the Celtics do not own TD Garden, he's going to look into it. He wants to kind of at least ask the question because he's not from here. Well, he hasn't been here in forever. He's from here, from the area, but he hasn't, like, he's been out in California for a long time. Like, he hasn't gotten, I think, the full landscape of, all right, well, he hasn't gotten the Bob Kraft treatment and all of that stuff, all of the stupid red tape that, especially in Boston, it's a nightmare. Where would they put it? That's the number one question. And I think you can have a conversation with the casino over there in Everett and see if there's a potential to put an actual arena next to the casino and make it a whole big entertainment complex. Is there some possibility there? But would the Celtics own it? Would they be co-owners with the casino? How would that work? Would the city be interested in that? Would the state be interested in that? You now have strong competition to have two big major venues like that competing with one another. There are days where the TD Garden is empty, and I'm sure that the Jacobs family, the Delaware North owners, the Bruins owners who own TD Garden would oppose that. They would have their lobbyists. They would spend their money to say, no, we don't want another big major venue in town to compete with us. We're the venue. We're the big concert when Taylor Swift comes by, or I was just at the Wu-Tang Clan concert. Like when those big acts come by, I know I just put Wu-Tang Clan in the same category as Taylor Swift, and I know that they're not really, but in my mind and in my heart, the Wu-Tang Clan is. So I'm going to continue marching forward with it. When these big acts come to town, they are going to, like right now, it's TD Garden. Or if you're like Beyonce, probably Taylor Swift, you want to come down to Foxborough, which is way out of the way. It's not close to Boston, really. You want to play your big stadium tours, then you can do that. That's the only competition, but that's for like the big acts, right? The God tier acts. So when boxing or WWE comes to town, you want to have, like, the TD Garden wants to have the spot, right? So I think Chisholm's going to find some resistance. He'll look into it. I think what he'll find is, I don't think this is worth it. And especially in Boston, it's going to be so difficult to find a spot. I don't know where it would go. Something in the Seaport. Seaport's like a major developmental, like everything's, cranes and scaffolding and all that stuff. And maybe there's a spot there. Maybe there's some spots that I haven't really done a big deep dive into Boston real estate. So I don't know if there's a spot that's sitting somewhere that may be an underrated area, but you got to be careful not to go too far outside of Boston. You can do Everett. You can do Chelsea, you can do, those little neighborhoods around Quincy. Is there a spot in Quincy? Somewhere along the way where it's basically Boston, and you can get there on the T. And like you want to make sure you do. You cannot have it even down in like Randolph. You can't go that far. You can't go into like, you certainly can't go into like Worcester. You can't go into Framingham. You can't go into, you got to be basically within Boston. You got to be able to see that skyline from the arena. So, and it's not a huge skyline. So I have serious doubts, but obviously if Gary Washburn printed it, then I do believe Bill Chisholm will look into the construction, just like I look into a lot of things. And I'm like, oh, I look into, retiring at 52. This is not going to happen though. So it means I still got to be here talking about the Celtics, which I'm going to continue doing after the break when I talk about Summer League and the process for evaluating Summer League and NBA expansion. That's all coming up next. Today's show is brought to you by Monarch Money. I know it's tough. Finances are, especially when you get to my age, and a lot of people who are listening are a little bit older, but even if you're younger, you're going to be planning for a house. If you already own a house, there's always an expense. There's always something. There's a life that you want to live. Your significant other, your family, your kids, your pets. Have you spent too much money on your pets? Look, you need Monarch Money because it's like your personal CFO, gives you full visibility and control over your finances. It's not just a budgeting app. It's a financial command center. It tracks all your accounts, all your investments, all your spending in one place. So you're not just managing money. You're kind of building your wealth. I got dogs. And when I go through my finances, I go, I spent how much on these guys? People spend a ton of money on their pets and you don't even realize. You're like, absolutely, I'll get these treats. Absolutely, I'll get this new leash. My wife wants a new little jacket for them. Sure, let's go. Those things add up, but you're spending money on yourself, food delivery, dining out, all that other stuff. Monarch Money is going to keep it all in one place. It's going to manage your all of your accounts, shared accounts, so you and your spouse can track everything together. It's going to give you full control over everything, so you can kind of see, I'm good with my investments. I'm not so great with my spending. I need to adjust this, that, and the other thing. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use the code LOCKEDONNBA at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONNBA for half off your first year. Thank you for making a Locked On Celtics your first listen every day. Now go to the Locked On NBA feed. Locked On NBA has got you covered. We've got the Locked On NBA podcast, which is dropping in the middle of the day. We get the Locked On NBA Game Night podcast, which is still covering the big stories in the league. When international competition, Eurobasket's out there, well, yeah, we'll touch on that stuff. We'll do all that stuff. So full basketball coverage on the Locked On NBA feed. You make Locked On Celtics your first listen, Locked On NBA, and Locked On NBA and Game Night second and third listen. Let's get back to the mailbag. Again, questions can come in to johnkaralis.com/mailbag. Matt says, I know Summer League is what it is, but what do you need to see from talent in Summer League that gives you confidence in their development and readiness to play real minutes? So it depends on the player, but I kind of looking for translatable skills, things that regardless of who's in front of you, Summer League guy, NBA legend, are you making the right decisions? Are you making the right play? Are you capable of making the right play? What speed are you playing at? What kind of play are you making? When in a play, are you making your pass, your dribble, your shot? Are you consistently a step behind? And I've said this before. People talk about, oh, this guy had this many turnovers. I didn't care, like Hugo Gonzalez. I didn't care that he had certain turnovers. If you're throwing the ball to a spot where a guy should be and it's a turnover, I don't even count that as a turnover. I count that as a good play that a guy you weren't on the same page with should have been there. And in Summer League, that happens all the time. Now, are you making a bad decision? Are you jumping in the air and getting caught and like kind of looking for a bailout and turning it over? Are you committing offensive fouls? What kind of turnovers are you committing? So those types of things. So honestly, stats are the last thing. Stats, when you go through your summer league, which just ended, stats are not like I'll cite stats when I talk about, Jordan Walsh or Baylor Shireman and what kind of summer they had. But Shireman shooting, what was it, 20%? I don't care so much if the shots were good shots, clean looks that got that he got, in the flow. So those types of things, it really isn't about the make or the miss. Now, at some point, I'd like to see makes from these guys, but it's about how you get to these places. So a guy can put zeros on the board in the box score and actually have a good game. And a guy could put up a triple double and I'd be like, well, he also made this many mistakes. And, the assists and rebounds are nice, but like the points and like how you get to certain things. Did somebody just get hot? Did you just, get 6 assists off of guys hitting shots? Like, how did you get to these spots? So that's what my summer league evaluation has always been. Dean asks, do you think the new CBA is going to push the league into expansion sooner than later with so many teams in aprons and luxury tax? I feel the only way to spread out salaries would be an expansion. So I don't think the expansion is happening. I know actually the commissioner was asked about it at Summer League. He has a regular availability. And basically what the league is doing is they just got all of this TV money. They're going to let that TV money come in for a couple of seasons before they bring in the expansion money. So I know that the expansion fee is going to be like $6 billion or something. Maybe they want to let it kind of sit a little bit and make it 7 billion or 8 billion. I think they are like owners are going to be, we'll call them greedy or fiscally responsible. They know that the TV money, they don't want new owners coming in and then getting their hands in that TV money jar too soon. The cap, they agreed on cap smoothing. So the cap's going up like 10%. It went up 10% last year. It's going up 10% this year. As soon as that levels off and there's regular increases, just like normal, whatever, 5%, 4%, 6%, whatever it is, then the league will be like, okay, this is normal. Now we can do expansion because, we've already gotten our 10% share. We don't want these new guys coming in and getting the 10% bit. So there's that. And then after that, they want all of their billions to split amongst everybody. And if they can get an extra billion or two, all the more fun for everybody. So I would not expect the CBA to change anything about expansion. Expansion is not happening for at least a few more years. I'd probably say at this point, 4 more years before we even get a team. Tim asks, can you explain how NBA buyouts work and why they benefit teams and players? Yeah, sure, Tim. So a buyout is simple. A player gives money back. So if I'm making $10 million a year, the team says, we just don't want you here anymore. So we'll give you some of your money, not all of your money. If you give back some of, if you give back like 2 million, 3 million, 5 million, whatever, we'll give you the rest and just go. We'll buy out your contract. Now that money still stays on their books because whatever you pay to a player is part of your salary and you still have to pay a tax on it if you're a taxpayer, all that stuff. But the player gets to be like, hey, I'm a free agent. And now I presumably would be like, hey, if the Celtics cut me and I was making 10 million a year and I say, okay, let's just say I have 1 year left at 10 million. And I say, okay, I'll agree to a buyout, $7 million. $7 million still on the Celtics books. I give up $3 million, but I'm now looking to the Denver Nuggets, and they're like, yeah, we'll pay you $3 million. And so there you go. Boom. You make up the money playing somewhere else. You're free. The team saves a little bit of money. They open up a roster spot. That's basically how a buyout works. Multi-year buyouts. I think players and teams understand that the relationship is over. And so they want to move on. They want to save a portion of the money, and they would rather just give you a lump sum. Boom, get out of here. We're going to save a little bit of the money, and everyone else, you get to be a free agent, and everyone else has their shot at you, and that's it. We'll come back. We'll talk about players that should be considered and NBA dads. The Celtics have lost a lot of dads over the past few weeks. We'll get to that when I come back. Thanks for making Locked On Celtics your first listen every day. Again, we're going on 3 days a week starting in a couple of weeks. So we got this week, next week, 5 days, and then 3 days a week. Middle of September, we're back to 5 days. So make sure you're subscribed wherever you get your podcasts. I got Millie's coming up. If you're a rap fan, Millie's, Cambridge kid, was the guy behind one of our early, or a couple of our early intros. So this is going to be fun. He'll be here on the Thursday show. So check that out. All right, back to the mailbag rapid fire. We'll get through a lot of these here. Jamal asks, what about signing Richaun Holmes, who was recently waived by the Wizards? Not exactly Akeem Olajuwon, but he's a legit NBA player. Okay, so Richaun Holmes is 31, I think. Sure. Listen, any serviceable center, I'm in. So, yeah, Richaun Holmes, sure. I think he's, as Jamal says, big dude, can finish inside, rebound, defend a little bit. I would love to have somebody like that you can count on. Now, are the Celtics willing to make a move for Richaun Holmes? This is the question when it comes to a guy like Holmes, who, again, sure, having him on the team, absolutely. Celtics have a full roster, 15 spots. They can cut. There's a couple guys non-guaranteed, so you can cut a couple guys if you want. If you want to give up on Jordan Walsh, if you want to give up on, I think, who else? J.D. Davison. Two guys you can cut, save money. But we've already talked about Charles Bassey. I'd like to give him a shot. You can maybe give Bassey a training camp deal. But Holmes at this point at 31, he's not taking training camp deal, right? He wants some guaranteed money, even if it's veteran minimum. He wants a guaranteed payday. He wants to play. He wants to play basketball. So the Celtics would have to open up the spots and then bring him in. And okay, there's Richaun Holmes. There's other guys, like I said, Bass. There's other guys out there that maybe you want to, and you also want to save your cut the non-guaranteed guy. What if you trade Anthony Simons and bring back two players? You're going to have to cut a non-guaranteed guy to make that trade legal. So it's not that Holmes isn't a decent option for the Celtics. It's that the Celtics right now are in a weird financial position where they only have limited ways to open up roster spots. And then if you want to, I don't know, trade Xavier Tillman and give up a second-round pick, sure. Do you want to give up the pick? Are you giving up any assets? Why do you want to give up an asset for Richaun Holmes, who's going to make you marginally better? This is the problem. These are the dilemmas that Brad Stevens will face. Richaun Holmes would make the Celtics better. They've got nobody, no disrespect to Luka Garza, but they're thin at the five. But how much better is Richaun Holmes making the Celtics? How many games is Holmes going to win the Celtics? Let's be liberal here and say 2, 3, 4. Is he good for 4? So I can see Brad Stevens going like, yeah, nice player, not worth all the machinations that it's going to take to get him. Doesn't do anything for us. So that's, I think, where the Celtics are in Rashawn Holmes or any of the other guys that have been recently cut and are available. Chuck asks, let's talk about a trade. Couldn't be done until September 7th because that's when you can aggregate recently traded players. But what's your thoughts on trading Simons, Niang, Hauser, and a package of picks for Sabonis? Now, I've mentioned Sabonis before. I like Sabonis in the, generally speaking, in the regular season sense. I like Domantas Sabonis. The problem with Sabonis, okay, you can aggregate these players and save a couple of bucks, but that's this year. Sabonis is going to make 42.3 this season, 45.5 the next season, and 48.6 the season after. For a guy who's notoriously problematic in the playoffs, it's a guy that can be attacked defensively, a problem. Now, great pick setter, great rebounder, can stretch the floor as a big, but defensively, are you going to spend that kind of money on that guy? Are you firing the bullets of the Simons, Niang, and Hauser and picks for Sabonis? That I can see the savings, and again, I acknowledge that he's a great regular season player. Playoff time, it's been an issue, and I'm not paying that kind of money for a guy who's problematic in the playoffs and would probably end up costing the Celtics Derek White at some point. Like that's just not where I want to go with it. So as much as I like Sabonis, I mean, great passer. You run your offense through him. I mean, I love him as a player until April and May and June. And then no. Andrew, we're going to wrap it up. 2 more questions here. Now that Al Horford, Porzingis, Drew Holiday, and Deuce Tatum will be absent from the Celtics locker room, are you worried about the team vibes? Should Brad Stevens find an NBA dad to sign for the veterans minimum? Yeah, it's a good point, man. I've been thinking about this because Horford is presumably gone, and so Ian's gone. Now, I don't know why Porzingis is a straight vibes guy. So, yeah. Holiday's kids are awesome. I'm really good. His son is so funny, so high energy. I love Drew Holiday's son. Like both of his kids are great, but his son is just so funny. And there's Deuce. I wouldn't be surprised if you see Deuce around a little bit. But, yeah, I mean, he's a fixture. We're missing a lot of kids here. An NBA dad who wants to bring in like straight dad vibes. That would be fun. I think the Celtics could use a little dose of that. But at the same time, I wouldn't be surprised if some of the guys are like, oh, thank God these kids are gone so I can swear in the locker room and talk like a normal human being. So, but the vibes, this is the one thing I said about this team over the past 2 seasons. Great vibes. Great. One of just the most professional, down to earth, like boring, they're so nice kind of teams. And it's something that's going to be tough to replicate. Finally, Matt asks, is it true that there's a haunted hotel in Oklahoma the media tries to avoid? If so, have you experienced it? I have not actually gone to OKC to cover a game. But there is, it's called the Skirvin. You can see it's the US's most haunted hotel. First thing on Google. I don't believe in that kind of stuff. However, I'm also not looking to be proven wrong. I also am like a rewards member. I'm one of the little insights with the NBA traveling media is we get to our rewards programs, whichever one we choose. We stay loyal to those hotels because we get to cash in those points, travel a lot. And so, sorry, the Skirvin is not on my Marriott Bonvoy. So I'm avoiding it. Forget the ghosts. I'll handle the ghosts. I want the points more than anything. That's why I'm avoiding that hotel, because I want the points, because now it's the summer and I'm about to cash those points in to go on a nice tropical vacation. So that's why I will avoid that hotel. But yes, it is known to be very haunted, and whatever. Again, I am not one to partake in that kind of stuff, but also once you get something in your head, every little creak in the hotel makes me think like, oh, maybe I'm wrong. And so I don't even, I'll probably never go and stay there. Which is a weird kind of place to be mentally, but I feel comfortable with that. I also feel comfortable wrapping up the show and saying thank you so much for listening. Thank you for watching. Again, tomorrow's show of Tom Westerholm, topic to be determined. Thursday will be Millie's. Millie's will be here. He's blowing up. Friday will be a flashcard Friday with me and Tom. So random topics, all that stuff. So 5 days this week, 5 days and next week, and then we go down to 3 days a week. So still make sure you're subscribed. The show is free. It's available everywhere. Everydayers, you know you're the best. I love you. Become an everydayer. It's going to be easier to be an everydayer over the next month. But please subscribe. Get into the comment section on the YouTube page. Share your thoughts, and then share the podcast. Tell everybody they should be listening to and watching the Locked On Celtics podcast here on the Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day.